Here we are on the Yarra River. It flows down into Melbourne. It's one of my favourite little spots to come for an afternoon paddle. And I've packed enough gear for an overnighter. I'm wearing the Anorak in dark brown. We're launching a crowdfunding campaign in Kickstarter to try and raise enough funds or pre-orders to produce 100 of them. Dark brown and burgundy red. I thought I'd talk about that campaign a little bit while I take you down the river. I've been producing these anoraks myself in my home studio with my one machine for a number of years now, and have received a lot of good feedback and encouragement about it. So I took the pattern to a professional pattern maker, tweaked it all, and then took that pattern to a factory in Melbourne to have a few samples made to see how much it might cost to have these produced in numbers. And it all looks pretty encouraging. In the end, it costs, well, let's break it down. It's a little less than $100 Australian dollars for the materials. Then it's for 100 in a factory line, $300 per anorak. It's a little bit less if we produce 300, but we'll just stay with 100. I think that's a modest target. I hope it's a modest target. So $300 for the factory to produce it, and then the cost for sampling and pattern making and the development of it, well, let's give that $100. Quality assurance, handling, things like that. So $500 to produce one anorak here in Melbourne with Australian materials, Australian made. The sale point then, I think, to be competitive with other top-of-the-line anoraks around the world, it needs to be about 700 Australian dollars. So the margin is $200. Now, after fees and taxes, there isn't much left. There's about maybe $100, $150 left to reinvest into peak oil. So that breakdown hopefully shows you how tight things are and how expensive things are when made in an economy like Australia. Obviously, the production price would be a lot less if it was made offshore, but we're not about that. So when writing up the campaign, the crowdfunding campaign, $700 is a big pledge straight off the bat. So what other things could we offer? Well, there's a little bag. I forgot to bring the bag. There's a little bag that the anorak comes in. It's about that big. Same material as the anorak. We can sell that for 35 Australian dollars. Then there's a care pack for, I think, $80. And that's the bag with some a large block of fabric wax by Artisan Sons, and a few postcards and patches of the branding around peak oil. Then perhaps a more interesting offer is, I think, for $200 we can send the paper pattern in all sizes and all of the material needed for you to produce an anorak. Some of us know people with a walking foot industrial sewing machine and the skills to use it. There's a good option. And in that, we're very interested in meeting people anywhere in the world who can work out how to make these anoraks. And that might be a way for us to create a network of makers and make these anoraks in the location where people are buying them from. Cutting down postage costs, which are huge these days, and other sustainability considerations. Okay, so beyond that price point, a pledge of $700 is for one anorak in the colour and size you prefer. After that, we start looking at bulk discounts where we start to reduce that margin that Peak Oil Company would have taken. So 3 anoraks for, can't exactly remember, something like $2,000. And then 10 anoraks for $5,500. So the 10 anoraks has no margin or no return to Peak Oil Company, because we figure that people buying 10 anoraks are either groups or retailers who might be interested on selling these anoraks. And if they're retailers on selling, that's good for our branding and exposure. So in return for that, we take no margin. So that's the breakdown. I'll talk more about the features of the anorak in another video when I set up for dinner.